It was a stormy night in late autumn, the kind where the wind howled like a wounded animal and rain lashed against the windows with unrelenting fury. I, Alex Thompson, a 28-year-old graphic designer who'd just moved into this rundown apartment building after a brutal breakup, was trying to drown out the world with headphones and a half-finished sketch on my tablet. But then I heard it, soft at first, muffled through the thin walls, but unmistakable, the sound of a woman crying. Not just any cry, but the deep, soul-shattering sobs of someone whose world had crumbled. It came from the apartment next door, piercing through the storm like a dagger to my heart. I froze, my pencil hovering midair, as her cries grew louder, more desperate. Who was she? What pain could make someone weep like that? Against my better judgment, I pressed my ear to the wall, my heart pounding. And that's when I heard her whisper through the tears, "Why did you leave me like this? I can't do this alone." My mind raced. Should I knock? Ignore it? But before I could decide, a thunderous crash echoed from her side, like something heavy falling, followed by utter silence. Panic surged through me. What if she was hurt? I bolted to my door, flung it open, and pounded on hers, yelling, "Are you okay in there?" The door creaked open just a sliver, revealing tear-streaked eyes peering out in the dim hallway light. And in that moment, as our gazes locked, I knew my life was about to change forever. But what secret was she hiding that could shatter us both? Her name was Emily Carter, a 26-year-old bookstore clerk with a smile that could light up the darkest room. Though that night, her face was a mask of raw vulnerability. She hesitated at the door, her hand trembling on the knob, before stepping back and letting me in. The apartment was a mirror of mine, small, cluttered with books and half-unpacked boxes. But the air felt heavy with grief. A shattered vase lay on the floor, water pooling around scattered flowers, and Emily sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she murmured, her voice hoarse. "I didn't mean to disturb you. It's just, everything's falling apart." I knelt beside her, awkward but compelled by some invisible force, and gently asked what happened. Through hiccuping sobs, she told me about her fiancé, Mark, who had walked out 2 weeks ago after 3 years together, leaving her with nothing but a note saying he couldn't handle the pressure. Pressure? It turned out Emily had been diagnosed with a chronic illness, lupus, that flared up unpredictably, draining her energy and filling her days with uncertainty. Mark had promised forever, but when the doctor visits piled up and the future looked hazy, he bailed, calling her a burden. My heart ached for her. I'd been through my own hell with my ex, Sarah, who cheated because she said I was too focused on my art to give her attention. We talked for hours that night, the storm raging outside as we shared our scars. Emily's eyes, a deep hazel that sparkled even through tears, met mine with a trust that felt both fragile and profound. As dawn broke, she leaned her head on my shoulder, whispering, "Thank you for not running away." Little did I know, that simple act of kindness was the spark of something beautiful and terrifying. Over the next few weeks, our lives intertwined like vines climbing the same trellis. I'd knock on her door with coffee in the mornings, and we'd walk to the nearby park, where the autumn leaves crunched under our feet. Emily had a way of seeing the world that captivated me. She'd point out the intricate patterns in a spider's web or quote lines from her favorite novels that mirrored our conversations. "Love isn't about perfection," she'd say, echoing Jane Austen. "It's about enduring the storms together." I found myself opening up about my dreams, how I'd always wanted to illustrate children's books, but settled for freelance gigs to pay the bills. My ex had mocked my passion, calling it childish, but Emily encouraged me, even sketching silly doodles on napkins to make me laugh. Our connection deepened with every shared glance, every accidental brush of hands. One evening, as we sat on her balcony watching the city lights flicker to life, she turned to me, her voice soft. "Alex, you've given me hope when I thought it was gone. But I'm scared. What if my illness pushes you away too?" I took her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin against mine, and promised, "I'm not going anywhere." That night, under a blanket of stars, we shared our first kiss, a tentative, electric moment that tasted like rain and redemption. It was as if destiny had placed us next door for a reason, weaving our broken hearts into something whole. But beneath the budding romance, doubts lingered. Emily's flares came without warning, leaving her bedridden for days, and I wondered if I was strong enough to stand by her. The major emotional conflict hit us like a freight train about 2 months in. It started innocently enough. I'd been working late on a big project, my phone on silent, when Emily had a bad flare-up. She called me repeatedly, her messages escalating from "Hey, can you come over?" to "Alex, I need help. The pain is too much." By the time I checked my phone at midnight, there were 10 missed calls. I rushed next door, finding her curled up on the floor, pale and shaking. "Where were you?" she whispered, her eyes filled with hurt. I apologized profusely, explaining the deadline, but the seed of mistrust had been planted. Emily's past with Mark haunted her. He'd ignored her calls during his own busy phases, only to reveal later he was seeing someone else. "How do I know you're not just like him?" she asked one night during an argument, her voice cracking. I felt defensive. I'd sacrificed sleep and social life to be there for her, but my own insecurities bubbled up. "I'm trying, Emily, but I can't be everything all the time. What if you're using me as a crutch?" The words hung in the air like poison, and she recoiled as if slapped. That fight exposed our deepest fears, her terror of abandonment, my fear of being inadequate. We stormed off to our separate apartments, the walls between us feeling thicker than ever. Heartbreak settled in like a fog. I paced my room, replaying her tears, wondering if love was worth this pain. But in the quiet, I realized this conflict was a test of trust, of destiny, and I wasn't ready to fail. As days turned into a tense standoff, a misunderstanding nearly tore us apart for good, creating the first additional cliffhanger in our fragile story. I'd been venting to my best friend, Jake, over coffee about the stress of balancing work and Emily's needs. "Sometimes I just need space," I said, not meaning it as a rejection, but as honest exhaustion. Unbeknownst to me, Emily overheard part of the conversation while picking up mail in the lobby. She caught only "I need space" from her and fled upstairs, assuming the worst. That evening, she confronted me with fire in her eyes. "If you need space, then take it, all of it." She slammed a box of my things at my feet, including the sketchbook I'd left at her place, now stained with what looked like teardrops. I was stunned. "Emily, that's not what I meant." But she wouldn't listen, her walls up higher than before. "Everyone leaves eventually," she said, her voice breaking. "Better now than later." I begged her to hear me out, but she shut the door, leaving me in the hallway with my heart in pieces. What had I done? As I retreated to my apartment, the silence was deafening. Had I just lost her forever? The misunderstanding gnawed at me through a sleepless night, forcing me to confront my own growth. I needed to communicate better, to show her my commitment wasn't conditional. Hope flickered back to life through a small act of sacrifice that redefined our bond. The next morning, determined not to let pride win, I skipped a crucial client meeting. The one that could have landed me my dream job illustrating a book series, to be at her doorstep with her favorite chamomile tea and a handwritten letter. In it, I poured out my soul. "Emily, my love for you isn't about convenience. It's about choosing you every day, flares and all. I'm sorry for not being clear. You're not a burden, you're my light." I slipped it under her door and waited in the hall, my career potentially in jeopardy, but my heart on the line. Hours passed, and just as despair crept in, her door opened. She stood there, letter in hand, eyes red but soft. "Alex, I overreacted. Mark's betrayal made me doubt everything, but you're different." We embraced, the tension melting into tears of relief. That sacrifice showed her my trust in us, and in return, she opened up about her therapy sessions, vowing to work on her fears. Our emotional connection deepened. We started attending support groups together, where I learned about lupus and how to be a better partner. Personal growth became our shared journey, me learning patience, her embracing vulnerability. But just as things stabilized, another cliffhanger loomed, testing our newfound strength. It came in the form of Mark's unexpected return, a twist of destiny that shook us to our core. One rainy afternoon, as Emily and I were cozied up reading on her couch, a knock echoed through the apartment. She answered, and there he was, Mark, looking remorseful with flowers in hand. "Emily, I made a mistake," he pleaded, glancing at me with disdain. I panicked about the illness, but I love you. Give me another chance. My blood boiled. This man had shattered her, and now he waltzed back? Emily froze, her face a storm of emotions. Anger, confusion, lingering hurt. Why now? She asked, her voice trembling. Mark confessed he'd seen her social media posts looking happy, with me, though he didn't know that, and realized what he'd lost. I stepped forward, heart pounding, but held back, trusting her to choose. The room thickened with tension. Would she fall back into old patterns? As Mark reached for her hand, she pulled away, turning to me. No, Mark. You left when I needed you most. Alex stayed. He left defeated, but the encounter unearthed old wounds. That night, Emily broke down, admitting a part of her had wondered, what if, fearing she'd never fully heal. Heartbreak resurfaced, but through honest talks, we navigated it. Me reassuring her of my unwavering love, her affirming her choice. This misunderstanding, born of past shadows, ultimately fortified our trust, proving destiny had guided us together for growth. Months blurred into a tapestry of love and resilience. Emily's lupus still flared, but we faced it as a team. I adjusted my work schedule. She pursued treatments with renewed hope. My art flourished under her encouragement. I landed that book deal after all, dedicating the first illustration to her, a woman emerging from a storm, strong and radiant. Our romantic tension evolved into a deep, passionate bond, filled with stolen kisses in bookstores and whispered promises under the covers. We explored themes of destiny in quiet moments, marveling at how a single night of tears had led us here. Personal growth wove through it all. I became more empathetic, she more self-assured, our emotional connection a lifeline against life's uncertainties. One evening, as we watched the sunset from the park bench where we'd first opened up, I got down on one knee. Emily, you've taught me that love is about trust and sacrifice, about growing together. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face as she said yes, our rings symbolizing the hope we'd fought for. The wedding was intimate, surrounded by friends who'd witnessed our journey, a testament to enduring love. In the end, as we danced under twinkling lights, I held her close, knowing that night of cries had changed everything for the better. We'd overcome heartbreak, misunderstandings, and doubts, emerging stronger, more connected. Destiny had whispered through those thin walls, urging us toward each other, and we'd listened, growing into versions of ourselves worthy of this love. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional love stories.